Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Ellumacent. I'm Scott. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So as you can see, I'm in the process of getting my next character art, which is my Kate finish for my next card. So the last couple of speed arts that I've been doing, I've been getting a lot of comments asking how to actually make my character's hair look 3D instead of just flat. So I thought in this video, since I'm in the process of finishing my next character off, I thought I'd show you as I'm already about to do her hair, or should I say the processes that I go through to actually make her hair go from flat to 3D. Now I will say I am using Clip Studio Paint, and I'm using the Human Canvas 20, that's the tablet screen that I use to draw on, and the software, as I say, I'm using Clip Studio Paint. I will be using Photoshop as well, so they are the little things that you're going to need, and obviously your character art as well. So as you can see, the first thing I've done is actually I've coloured the whole character hair in, and as you can see it does look flat. So the first thing you're going to need to do is actually add some actual shadow to actually bring some 3D to the hair. So with anime we do a lot of shading with the hair to add that 3D look to it. So what we need to do first is create a new layer, and this is going to be our shadow layer. Then we're going to get our lasso tool, and just bear in mind you know where your light is coming from. So my light is coming from around the middle area. So all I need to do is pick a point of the hair I want to start off with, say around here, and then we just draw in where we think the shade or shadow would be on the hair. And then you can autofill this as you go by changing the colour to black, and then reduce the opacity down just about a fifth or maybe more due to your preference. And as we zoom out, as you can see, we're already starting to get like a 3D effect with the shade. You can drop this down even more, or you can go through the layer effects, which I'll be doing in Photoshop. But for Clip Studio Paint, sometimes the effects don't transfer to the Photoshop format because Photoshop doesn't have some of the effects that Clip Studio Art does. So until I go to Photoshop, I just reduce the opacity of my shadows down to about 20 to 30%. And then I'll go through the layer options as you see when I go into Photoshop. So next all I need to do is carry on going around the hair where I want the shadows to be. Hold down Shift key, you won't lose any of the process that you've just made. It'll let you be able to create a new selected area without losing all the bits that you've already selected or highlighted, just like that. And once you've got all the pieces of the hair highlighted that you want to have the shadow effect on, all we need to do now is hit the paint bucket. We've made sure our colour is black on our palette and hit paint bucket. And there we go guys, we've got our shadow, which is the first part of the hair. The next part is going to be the highlights, so where the light is hitting the actual hair, the reflection. So again with anime, this is really quite simple to do. Usually it's just like a curved line, like an oval line across the front of the hair. So do a new layer, and we're going to switch our colour to white, and with the lasso tool all we need to do is like a really simple zigzaggy type of line around the front of the hair or the fringe, and just make sure you kind of oval it as you go to match the shape of the head. So because I've got Kate's horn there, I just need to go a little bit in, and now you can add some more highlight to other pieces of the hair if you want to. So you could have some here. So remember to hold down your shift key so you don't lose the oval as you're doing your next piece of highlight, like that. And I could do a little bit here. Probably a little bit down here. Around the base of the horn. Probably a little bit around where the crown or top of the hair would be. And that's enough for me, I think. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to now make sure I've got my new layer. I've got it all highlighted where I want the highlight to be for the hair, which I have. Make sure you got your colour palette set as white for your colour, and then hit the actual bucket to hit fill. Then all you need to do is just reduce the opacity to your preference. I'm obviously going to do more when I hit Photoshop with the layer effects and that. But that's just a simple way of getting a bit of highlight into the hair. But as you can see already, we've come a long way from actually just having the base colour hair where it just looked flat. This no longer looks flat. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump to Photoshop because I've finished doing all the base colours and that for my character. And I'll be right back. And we are back. So the first thing I'm going to do with my hair layer is actually put on a gradient. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to our hair layer, which is the blue layer for Kate on mine. And I'm just going to copy the hair layer that I've got. So if I make a mistake, I've got a backup. So I just duplicate it and turn it off. So the next thing I need to go is to the F icon on Photoshop where the layers is to get to gradient overlay. Then you want to make sure you're using a white to black, which symbolizes shadow and tone, or shadow and reflection, because that's going to help add more depth of light to your hair and make it not so flat, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to go through the layer effects now, which is in blend mode. And all you need to do is just go through the list in blend mode and find the one that you like the look of. So as you can see, as I just quickly go through them, you can see how it changes the hair color. And then you can also mess around with the angle, so you can get the, like that looks more 3D, or you've got that one that looks more 3D, depending again where your light source is coming from. And then you can mess around with the scale and opacity. So as you can see, that looks more 3D. So there you go, there's your flat, and if you move your opacity, you can see how much dimension it gives to your hair. So I wouldn't add too much. I'd say about, roughly about there, and then I'm going to hit OK. And as you can see, our hair is no longer flat. Now another thing that can help as well, remember I do say I change the base colours before I choose the final colours that I want for my character. So if you can always mess around changing the colour of the hair as well. So we go to image, adjustments, hue and saturation. And you can see the effect that that gradient has with different colours on the hair. Or if we duplicate the layer we've just added the gradient to. So if we go now to the F icon again and gradient overlay. This is another thing that I like to do sometimes when I want to make colourful hair, is actually change the gradient to a colour gradient and then use the blend mode again. So if I was going to go for blue, if we're going to go to blue, I'm going to change this colour and I'm going to go for a lighter shade of blue. So like aquamarine colour. And then I'm going to save that as new and press OK. So that gives you a better base to actually add some light and tone and texture to the hair. And if we go to the blend mode and just go through them again till you find the one that matches your preference. So I like that one because you've got different shades of blue. So I'm going to go with pin light and press OK. So as I mentioned before when I was in Glitch Studio Paint, I don't mess around with the layer effects until I get to Photoshop, if you remember my shade. So we're going to bring the shade one back in. And this is where you can now tweak the shade to get some more depth. So I've gone for 35% this time. And now I'm going to go through the layer effects. So again, just go through them until you find the one that you like the look of. So that's a nice one because you get a bit of transparency and a bit of the colour come through, so you get different darknesses of each tone of colour, and that is for overlay. Overlay is one of probably the best ones to use. Soft light is another one that gives you a nice effect when it comes to your shadowing. So for me, I'm going to go for overlay. Actually, I'm torn between the two. I actually like the soft light more for this one, so I'm going to go for soft light. And now we're going to be able to do the highlight part as well. So we're going to bring the highlight layer and bring the opacity up, so we kind of get what we're looking for. We want it to be a little bit brighter. And then again, same thing, go through the layer options until you find something that matches what you like that for me. And another thing you can do, you can kind of erase parts of it. So this is something else that I like to do sometimes with the hair highlight. So if we duplicate the hair highlight layer, so we've got a backup one in case you go wrong. And then if we go to the eraser tool, bring the hardness all the way down, and we're going to try and erase a little bit of the highlight, so you kind of get like a blend like that. And another thing you could do, if you want it to be a little bit brighter, you could always duplicate the layer to get a brighter tone. That's basically how I do my hair for my characters. The next thing I'm going to show you something that I learned was a tip from Mikey Mega Mega. I've loved his artwork for ages, and he's a big inspiration of mine. But he did a tutorial, or I guess a little tip, to show you how to actually make your line art a little bit more poppy, so it stands out a little bit and is a bit more cleaner. So that basically means you're going to mess around with filters like blur. And I'll link Mikey Mega Mega's YouTube channel in the description box below in this video. And I'll also link the video that I am talking about that I learned from him to actually make my line art stand out a little bit and be a bit more like a glassy, I guess that's the word, a glassy, reflective instead of flat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my line art layer, just so I've got a backup. Now we go to filter. I'm going to go for a blur. And for this one, I'm just going to go for a standard blur. And as you can see, it's made it a bit more cleaner and fuzzier, which is what you want. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to blur it again. And then the last thing I'm going to do is now go to filter, blur, effects, and then I'm going to go to Gaussian blur. And just tweak a little bit. And if we zoom out, you can see the line art looks a little bit more transparent instead of it being domineering. And that's it, guys. That's how I do my hair, and that's how I do a little bit of a tweak thanks to the advice and the tips that I've learned from Mikey Mega Mega. Hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully you've got an idea how I actually get my character's hair to be a bit more three-dimensional, get the depth of colour, and make my character hair less flat. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to finish off my character, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Let me know if you like these tutorials. If there's any other tutorials you'd like me to go through with the art tutorials, like how do I colour hair and the skin, how do I do skin tone to make the skin less flat as well, then please, by all means, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll make another tutorial just like I did with this one. But other than that, guys, until the next video, take care, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.